The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, the Finance Ministry reports an addition of over 149 billion rupees in tax revenue to the government through the importation of motor vehicles. The International Monetary Fund is assessing a recent electricity price hike by Sri Lanka's power regulator, which is a key requirement to pass the next review. The Colombo Stock Exchange closes the week in the red as the ASPI and S&P SL20 have a tumultuous run. And the S&P 500 ended higher after a strong outlook from Oracle fueled optimism about artificial intelligence.
From Studio 24, here's Anuradhi Vikramasinghe.
A very good evening and thank you for joining us. The Finance Ministry said that Sri Lanka Customs has released close to 50,000 motor vehicles between December of last year and June this year, contributing over 149 billion rupees in tax revenue to the government.
In the final budget position report for 2024, the Finance Ministry said, according to the Statistics Division of Sri Lanka Customs, a total of approximately 49,541 motor vehicles, including 14,047 motor cars, were released from customs during the period from 18th December 2024 to the 3rd of June. It is said that the release of these motor vehicles has contributed 149.1 billion rupees to government tax revenue, which reflects robust performance in revenue mobilization and indicates that the government is on track to meet its annual revenue targets from motor vehicle imports. From the complete lifting of the import ban on motor vehicles in February, the government aimed at mobilizing the fiscal objective of approximately 1.3% of GDP in tax revenue from motor vehicle imports in 2025, with a cautious approach on the reserve position of the country. From 2014 to 2023, taxes on motor vehicles were administered under a composite excise duty regime, but following tax reforms in the last year or so, the structure was disaggregated into multiple components. Nevertheless, excise duty remains the principal source of revenue from motor vehicle imports.
The International Monetary Fund is assessing a recent electricity price hike by Sri Lanka's power regulator, which is a key requirement to pass the next review after the utility ran losses from a regulator-driven price cut.
IMF's Director of Communications, Julie Kozak, said the IMF's team is closely engaged with the authorities to assess the measures that were recently announced by the regulator. She said these include a 15% increase in electricity tariffs and the publication of a revised bulk supply transaction account guidelines for this, adding that once the review is completed by the executive board, Sri Lanka would have access to about $344 million in financing and will announce the board date for Sri Lanka in due course. The bulk supply tariff account is part of the process through which electricity prices are set, where past profits are clawed back and given to customers or losses are recovered. However, the BST balances as well as cost and revenue disputes between the Ceylon Electricity Board and the regulator has led to chaotic pricing, despite the central bank providing a stable exchange rate. Currently depreciating coming from a flawed operating framework of the central bank as well as commodity bubbles via the US Fed, which has pushed up fuel and coal prices, have been the key reason for CEB losses in the past.
Trade, Commerce, Food Security and Cooperative Development Minister Wasantha Samarasinghe said that it has been planned to well utilize the process of accreditation to boost the export sector and increase export income.
He made these remarks while addressing an event held to mark the 20th anniversary of the Sri Lanka Accreditation Board, coinciding with the World Accreditation Day 2025 in Colombo. The minister added that the exporters can enter international markets with total confidence while well utilizing the accreditation process, which ensures the quality of the products and services the exporters offer. He added accreditation is not just a technical process, but a process of increasing trust in products to reach new global markets, and further stated that the SLAB will give fullest support to exporters to get their products certified as high quality. Accreditation paves the way for empowering small and medium enterprises of the country, which is considered the backbone of the economy. The World Accredit Day is focusing on how SMEs are essential to the global economy, driving innovation, creating jobs, and supporting local communities. Accreditation is a third-party attestation that demonstrates a conformity assessment body's competence to carry out specific tasks. It provides formal recognition that an organization meets international standards for technical competence, impartiality, and consistent operation.
Sri Lankan Airlines said it was rerouting flights to London and European cities after Middle Eastern airspace was closed in the wake of Israel attacking Iran, with flights now taking longer. Sri Lankan said in a statement that due to escalating tensions in the Middle East, airspace in certain parts of the region has been closed, and as a result, Sri Lankan Airlines has been compelled to make changes to its European routes, including London, to avoid the conflict zone. These route changes have led to increased flight durations on services to Europe. Flight UL504 arriving from London to Colombo today is being diverted to Doha for refueling to in-flight rerouting, while UL501 from Colombo to Paris is also being rerouted to avoid the affected airspace. Let's take a short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The Colombo Stock Exchange saw a red close on the final trading day of the week, with both the ASPI and S&P SL20 ending with losses. The close marks a tumultuous week for the indices. For further insights, we speak with Manusha Kandanarachi from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradhi. The Colombo stock market witnessed a sharp decline as heightened geopolitical tensions rattled investor sentiment following Israel's major strike on Iran's military and nuclear facilities. In early trading, the all-share price index plunged nearly 300 points, followed by sideways movements throughout the session, ultimately failing to recover. By market close, the index had shed 227 points, ending the day at 17,434. Selling pressure was broad-based, affecting all the sectors across the board. HNB Bank, Melstar Corporation, DSCC Bank, Sampath Bank and John Keells Holdings majorly extended downward pressure on the index as well. In terms of today's turnover, the market turnover stood at 4 billion rupees, demonstrating a 22% decrease from the monthly average, standing at 5 billion rupees as well. Active retail investor participation was also observed during today's trading session. The diversified financial sector led today's turnover, contributing 25%, followed by the banking and capital goods sectors jointly accounting for 33% of the overall turnover. The top three losers of the day were SMB Finance Non-Voting, SMB Finance Voting and Ceylon Printers, as well as top gainers of the day were UB Finance, Tess Agro and Alliance Finance Company.
The Colombo bourses were seeing some serious ups and downs throughout this trading week, and the performance was less positive than expected considering today's negative close. For further insights on how the market performed over the week, we speak with Shahana Kanagaratnam from First Capital Holdings.
Thank you, Anuradhi. The Colombo Stock Exchange commenced the week on a positive note, sustaining its upward momentum through Thursday, despite some intraday volatility during trading sessions. Investor sentiment remained broadly optimistic, supported by heightened retail investor participation and modest activity from high-net-worth individuals. Market activity, while lower than the previous week, remained healthy with daily turnover ranging between Rs 3 to 5 billion. The ASPI reached new all-time highs on 3 separate occasions during the week, driven by the overall positive sentiment. However, the market experienced a shift on Friday, closing in the red as the ASPI declined by 227 points. This reversal was primarily driven by heightened global geopolitical tensions, particularly the escalation of conflict between Israel and Iran. The announcement of the electricity tariff hike effective Thursday in Sri Lanka also contributed to some midweek selling pressure. From a sectoral perspective, investor interest was primarily concentrated in diversified financials, banking, and capital goods sectors. Despite the Friday decline, the week's overall reflected resilient investor confidence, tempered by caution amidst evolving external developments. In summary, while the market started the week on a bullish trajectory, it closed in negative territory at 17,434 points. Thank you.
Gold prices extended sharp gains in Asian trade as safe haven demand was boosted after Israel launched a major preemptive strike on Iran, hitting dozens of military and nuclear targets. Spot gold jumped 1.5% to $3,436.97 an ounce, while gold futures for August rallied 1.6% to $3,459.60 an ounce. Gold's rise is further supported by easing inflation pressures in the U.S. Bullion prices had risen earlier in the week on U.S.-China trade uncertainty. Despite signs of progress, vague details kept investors cautious. With the Israel-Iran strikes heightening the chance of a broader regional conflict, gold's upward momentum could persist until clarity emerges. Oil prices surged higher after Israel launched a series of strikes on Iran, raising fears of broader Middle East conflict and major supply disruptions. Brent oil futures surged 7.4% to $74.52 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude futures climbed 7.7% to $73.25 per barrel. Both contracts had earlier seen the largest intraday moves for both contracts since 2022 after Russia invaded Ukraine, with both climbing to their highest levels since late January. Oil's geopolitical risk premium has climbed in the wake of Israeli airstrikes on Iran. The Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated slightly against the US dollar today. According to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the buying rate of the US dollar has increased while the selling rate has also risen. The Sri Lankan rupee has also depreciated against a basket of foreign currencies, while it has slightly changed against Gulf currencies. Let's take a closer look at how the Sri Lankan rupee is performing today against other major global currencies. Short break now. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back. Sri Lanka's George Stewart and Company Limited, the majority shareholder of HVA Foods plc, has sold over 10% of its stake in the company. George Stewart sold 25 million ordinary voting shares of HVA Foods through several market transactions, according to a stock exchange announcement. The shares were sold at prices from ₹3.50 to ₹4. The stock closed down at ₹3.30 today. HVA Foods owns the Heladiv tea brand, which offers tea and tea-based products internationally. George Stewart and Company Limited bought a 51% stake in HVA Foods in 2020. Hales Aventura, the industrial solutions arm of Sri Lanka's diversified Hales Group, has opened a new Avery Weightronics sales and service centre in Polonnaruwa, marking a strategic step in expanding its support for critical industries across the north, central and eastern provinces.
Located on the Batikla Road, the facility will serve as a technical and service hub for industries spanning agriculture, manufacturing, logistics and retail, delivering precision weighing solutions tailored to the operational realities of the region. The new centre will offer a full portfolio of products from high-precision laboratory balances and platform scales to robust, heavy-duty weigh bridges, featuring globally trusted brands such as Avery, CAS and A&D. It is supported by certified calibration services, dependable after-sales support, and a 95-year legacy of expertise in Sri Lanka through the Avery Weightronics partnership. The Polonnaruwa Centre reflects their long-term commitment to enhancing regional customer access to high-quality industrial solutions, said Wasubha Jayasekara, Managing Director of Hales Aventura, at the inauguration of the new Weighing Solutions Centre in Polonnaruwa. The launch of the Polonnaruwa Centre underlines Hales Aventura's mission to bring global industrial standards to every corner of Sri Lanka, further cementing its status as the nation's most trusted partner in weighing solutions.
Delmage, one of Sri Lanka's most trusted and diversified conglomerates, hosted an event at the Shangri-La Hotel, Colombo, to mark a significant milestone in its partnership with globally renowned energy brand Shell. The event was attended by senior leaders from both Shell and Delmage, symbolizing a powerful alliance as together they aim to address and progress lubricant solutions in Sri Lanka. The evening celebrated Delmage Fawcet's energy appointment as the authorized macro distributor of Shell lubricants in Sri Lanka. This collaboration is poised to deliver world-class lubrication solutions, leveraging Shell lubricants' global leadership position and Delmage's robust distribution network. Among the distinguished guests were members of Shell Lubricant Asia Pacific leadership team and the senior management of Delmage. Also in attendance were Sri Lanka's motorsport icons and official Shell brand ambassadors Ashant Silva, renowned car racing champion, and Jacques Gunawardena, leading motorcycle racing figure, whose presence reinforced Delmage's commitment to excellence. Commercial Bank of Ceylon has been voted as Sri Lanka's most loved bank brand and the second most loved service brand in the country overall, while Combank Digital has been named as Sri Lanka's most loved e-commerce finance brand in a survey commissioned by the leading business magazine LND.
This impressive triple affirmation of public approbation is the outcome of a comprehensive study conducted by Peppercube Consultants in January. The study, which aimed to identify the most loved brands among LMD readers, utilized meticulous research methodologies and data analysis techniques. It was based on a random sample of 400 respondents from LMD's readership database, interviewed via telephone by trained professionals. The sample represented a diverse demographic with 52% female and 48% male respondents and included individuals from key regions across the western, southern, central, northwestern and northern provinces. Commercial Bank Managing Director CEO Sanath Manatunge said the ultimate success of a brand is earning the love of its customers and the community base. That love is built on trust and satisfaction created through positive customer experiences. He said the bank assigns the highest priority to customer service excellence and regularly monitors customer sentiment through purpose-designed research.
Let's take a short commercial break. Global business updates coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Asian equity markets tumbled as fears over a sudden rise in Middle East tensions following Israel's strikes on Iran ignited a broad risk-off move. Japan's Nikkei 225 dropped 1.2%, while South Korea's Kospi fell 1.3%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index slid 0.8%, as investors shunned equities in favor of safe haven assets and commodities. China's Shanghai Composite Index and the Shanghai Shenzhen CSI 300 were both trading lower at 0.7%. Australia's S&P ASX 200 fell 0.4%, while Singapore's Straits Times Index declined 0.5%. India's Nifty 50 slipped 1%, while Indonesia's Jakarta Stock Exchange Composite Index lost 0.6%. The S&P 500 ended higher after a strong outlook from Oracle fueled optimism around artificial intelligence, offsetting worries about tension in the Middle East and a drop in Boeing shares.
Stocks closed higher Thursday, with the Dow rising 0.25%, the S&P 500 gaining about 0.4%, and the Nasdaq also adding about 0.25%. A strong outlook from Oracle fueled optimism around artificial intelligence, offsetting worries about tension in the Middle East and a drop in Boeing shares. Oracle hit a record high during the session and closed up more than 13% after the company raised its annual revenue forecast, driven by strong demand for its AI-related cloud services. Shares of Boeing fell nearly 5% after an Air India Dreamliner jet crashed minutes after taking off in India's western city of Ahmedabad, killing more than 200 people. Investors were still monitoring rising tensions in the Middle East. President Donald Trump said U.S. personnel were being moved out of the region because, quote, it could be a dangerous place. And he said the United States would not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Officials from both countries are scheduled to meet in Oman on Sunday for a 6th round of nuclear talks.
Boeing's shares fell 5% after an Air India 7878 Dreamliner jet carrying 242 people crashed in India's Ahmedabad, and the disaster poses a major setback for Boeing as its new CEO has been trying to rebuild trust following a series of safety challenges.
Shares of plane maker Boeing fell 5% on Thursday. Investors sold off after an Air India 7878 Dreamliner aircraft crashed in India's western city of Ahmedabad. Officials said more than 200 people on board the London-bound plane were killed. It was not immediately clear what caused the crash. It posed a major setback for Boeing and the Dreamliner jet's safety record. The wide-body 787 models had never had a fatal crash until Thursday's incident. It could also affect Boeing's efforts to rebuild trust related to safety under new CEO Kelly Ortberg. Boeing said in a statement it was aware of initial reports and was working to gather more information. The company has faced years of scrutiny and delays over its narrow-body 737 MAX jets. They were grounded for years following 2 fatal crashes.
Well, that wraps up today's nightly business report. We value your opinion as always, so please do share your thoughts and feedback with us through email at feedback.ad24english@derana.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. We'll see you again on Monday with the latest updates across the business globe. And until then, I'm Anuradhi Vikramasinghe. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great weekend.